Hello everyone and welcome back to some good old StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Terran versus Terran where we find ourselves on the map 2000 Atmospheres. Now, for those of you that have already had a quick look right here at the scoreboard, you may recognize that I've never featured either of these two players on the YouTube channel before. And honestly, right, so I do want to feature a variety of players on the channel, but the thing is that I also try to bring you the best games of StarCraft 2 that I can, other than like the viewer-submitted games, right? But that's an entirely different story. The thing is, right, and this is crazy, there's a crazy correlation. It turns out that the best players in StarCraft 2 also tend to play the best games of StarCraft 2. I know, this is nuts. So I do, generally speaking, cast the same, I don't know, 24 players over and over and over again. And while I don't really think that's going to change anytime soon, today we're going to have a look at two players that I haven't featured before. Now, this game was recommended to me by a couple of you, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down right here on 2000 Atmos. Playing with the red Terran pieces in the bottom left-hand corner of the map from Germany. He's currently 18 years old, and he goes by the name of BattleB. His opponent in the opposite corner with the teal Terran pieces from Russia, likewise also 18 years old, and honestly one of the worst pro gamer nicknames that I've seen in a while. We're looking at none other than milkiCow's main command center. milkicow? Really, milkicow. Anyways, he's had some good results recently in some of the events. I was actually curious, right? So I just had a quick look at his Wikipedia page, and it turns out he has had a variety of nicknames over the course of the years so far. Some of them less family-friendly than others, so I can imagine why he changed those. But he did go under the name of Cows Love Milk, Milky Kek, Milky Cow, Kek Kek Kek, Milky Kek, and Milky Winky. So I'm not even entirely sure if Milky Cow, I guess, is his final form. Maybe he's going to be changing that up as well in the future. Who knows? Anyways, BattleB, that's, you know, it's a pretty stunning name. BattleB. BattleB, roll out, right? I guess that's Autobots. Anyways, doesn't matter. Both players going for near identical builds so far, although we do have that reactor pretty quickly. Reaper's already going across the map here for milkicow, though. BattleB, he's got the high ground. He's going to be able to shoot that very first... Oh, well, there you go. Nice grenade as well, actually. Grenade right there. Used to retreat here for milkicow, so he's going to be able to get that Reaper out, but sometimes just getting the first hit in is all you really need. Command centers, though, coming up on both sides of the map. A little bit of a deviation, though, as far as, like, the attachments go. So both players have a factory as well as a barracks. Wouldn't be surprised to see a starport here from both players here in a little bit as well. But we do have a tech lab here a little bit quicker for milkicow than on the other side of the map. BattleB favoring going for that very first Hellion here instead. So he's only got 2 Reapers and then instantly into a tech lab. Very common, obviously, in this matchup is to see a group of Hellions as well as a group of Reapers roaming the map. Can become a little bit tricky if you don't have anything to deal with that. I mean, 2 Reapers would do decently well, but I guess you'd buy a little bit of time here to get the Cyclone out. Starport coming up. Obviously, in general, in TVT in the early game, we see players trying to harass each other while slowly building up that eco. The classical 1-1-1, going for the 1 barracks, 1 factory, and then 1 starport. It really allows you to get a variety of units out right at the very beginning of the game already. So Terran is the only race in StarCraft 2 that can actually get their capital ship out by like the 5-minute mark, right? You can get a battlecruiser out really early on into the game, and I mean, it feels to me as a Zerg player that Protoss can get their, is that a Diva spray? I guess so. It feels to me as a Zerg player that Protosses can get their carriers out real early as well. It's not nearly as early as, for example, one of those battlecruisers. Anyways, these Hellions trying to get a shot in. Okay, a Reaper. Yeah, the Reapers will get picked off. At the same time, though, there's 2 Cyclones available here at the front for milkicow. He's going to be able to micro against this for a little while at least. He's also got reinforcing Marines, so it looks like BattleB is going to have to go back home. Both players, though, getting themselves their Ravens out. So Ravens, very important units in this matchup. Do I go over the Raven abilities again? I did so in, I think, the most recent Terran versus Terran that I did. Anyways, Ravens are real quick. They have 3 abilities. First off, they have a little auto turret that you can throw on the ground. Deals a bunch of damage. Real strong. Secondly, they've got an ability called the Interference Matrix where you can temporarily disable a unit. Most notably in Terran vs. Terran, that's siege tanks. So you can throw it on one of your opponent's siege tanks. And then it's not going to be firing for a little while. And then last but not least, it's also got an anti-armor missile that makes you deal additional damage to units that are affected by it. So really critical unit in this matchup. Air dominance in general is, yeah, really critical. So once you get that air superiority, right, not only can you start adding on Ravens, which is great. After you get that Viking lead, you can also start adding in a couple of Liberators or even more Ravens. So it's become really popular to just add in like a dozen Ravens if you can. Although it's very expensive to build these guys. I believe they're 200 gas each. There's no denying that Marines obviously are only minerals. So usually you do have a little bit of gas to play with. And if you can disable pretty much all of the siege tanks that your opponent has, turns out you're, yeah, gonna have a pretty great time getting into a good position. Either way, it's going to be a third CC right here for BattleB, whereas on the other side of the map, milkicow is adding on some additional barracks. Definitely expecting him to be the aggressor in this game. I mean, he's already roaming the map. He's got Marines everywhere. Watchtowers taken as well by him. So he's going to be able to, yeah, scout out most of that map. So these Marines right here, they're in a bit of a strange spot maybe, but basically if a Medivac decides to fly by or a Liberator, he's going to be able to get the heads up and then move his units right here in position wherever he needs them. BattleB does still have that roaming squad. So at the very least, that's going to help him out here a little bit to get some of that map control. It can be really difficult actually to know exactly what your opponent is doing. And this is a bit of a funky situation. Yeah, those Reaper grenades are really powerful. He's also now body blocking even. I wasn't entirely sure how that was going to go, but that actually worked absolutely perfectly right there for our red Terran. Only losing one Reaper so far. Wow, okay. Yeah, fantastic start here for BattleB. Terran versus Terran, though, also has a huge defender's advantage. So the problem is, other than with Ravens, right? If your opponent is sitting there with sieged-up tanks, you can't really get in very easily. Obviously, you can try and go for like a medevac drop, but that becomes very all-in-y very quickly, so I'm never a huge fan of those. And generally, if you have that advantage, it's quite difficult to close it out. Usually in StarCraft 2, this is good advice in general. When you're ahead, try to get more ahead, so rather than going for the kill, oftentimes it's better to just add on an extra expansion instead. May seem a little bit counterintuitive, but winning in the long run usually is the best and most, yeah, statistical, strong move, I suppose, that you could go for. Either way, I expected milkicow to be a little bit aggressive earlier on, but he's been sitting back for the majority of this game so far. Maybe it's because of all those losses that he took. At this point, we're at 5 siege tanks for the, I guess, the teal Terran player versus 4 right here for the red. They're mostly just scanning each other here, trying to figure out exactly what's happening. Looks like BattleB right here, not too excited about it. He sees the timing of that CC, so at that point he obviously also knows exactly that his opponent has got additional production already. Jimmy, no! Anyways, he knows that he already got additional production out of that stage in the game. So obviously pushing into this is probably exactly what milkicow wants. This is a strong little hit squad though, right? So it's a bunch of Reapers, a few Hellions, and then a Cyclone. It's got a lot of potential for sure. Look at this guy. Going straight through the camera apparently, disintegrating before he even remotely reaches the surface of 2000 Atmos. Okay. So he's trying to get in. It shouldn't really happen. The problem is that these units also are soaking up a bunch of supplies, so it's nice to have them, but... Okay, I was gonna say, usually that little roaming squad will be killed once we transition towards the mid stages of the game. After the early game, they are... Yeah, they're basically too low in hit points to really get much done, although that probably wasn't ideal. Giving up most of those units for free. Not quite what you're looking for. So pretty passive game though. It's been 9 minutes right now and nothing's really... I mean, there's been a couple of things that have happened. For example, I've made fun of milkicow's nickname. Maybe that's a bit rude of me, but... Other than that, it's been a relatively passive game. Both players just trying to macro up. There are sprays, by the way, in StarCraft 2. Every single worker can throw down a spray if they want to. Well, it's on a cooldown, obviously. We don't really see it all too often, but... I do like seeing them, actually. It's kind of fun. Yeah, so milkicow, very good when it comes to those Marines. Always having them out on the map so far. Making sure that he can see all incoming drops just fine. And so far, it's not really allowing BattleB to get in very easily. Now, this is kind of awkward, though, because the Terran player in red right now is out on the other side of the map, whereas milkicow is also inside of his opponent's base. Rather than going back home, actually, he decides to commit to fighting his opponent's third base. Obviously, since milkicow is now, well, in his opponent's third base, he does have a couple of defensive siege tanks over here. 3 of them in total actually is quite a lot, but apparently the third CC is just completely forgotten about. There's the anti-armor missiles coming down, so at least these siege tanks will be disabled for a little while. We also now see a medevac drop inside of the main base here of BattleB, who's going to be forced to use his SCVs here in the battle too, but siege tanks on the low ground are going to be able to deal a tremendous amount of damage. Okay, scanner right there reveals those units on the high ground after some of them get picked off. These SCVs, somehow, some way, still live. Okay, maybe this is the reason why this game got recommended to me. I was going to say, if it's just going to be a relatively passive game of StarCraft, I guess I'm just talking to myself in a room because I will never upload that to the YouTube channel. And yes, those games do get recommended to me from time to time. I'm like, that was kind of boring. Guess I won't be posting it. Anyways, right now, yeah, we are in a very dramatic situation. Can't believe all of these SCVs over at the third base actually still live. Viking decides to land to try and force the siege tanks here in red to deal some friendly fire, but the siege tank at the very least for now stays alive. milkicow did bring the tanks back home. Did he ever spot the, no, he didn't spot the 6 o'clock, so BattleB still has an Expo over there too. Both players have now taken a tremendous amount of losses, but I guess it's doable? Anyways, yeah, this is now a bit of an overextension right here for the German. Wanted to try and see if he could win right there with the army that he had, but at this point, both players end up taking a huge amount of losses. Alright. It's one of the reasons why sensor towers, of course, are so helpful in this matchup. Now, once again, we have a couple of medevacs right here at the 12 o'clock position, ready to go into another base. Sensor tower is not covering that section of the map, and once more, milkicow is moving out. So, we could get into this awkward scenario once again, where both players are killing each other. Like, is that what we're gonna see? Are we ever gonna see a straight-up fight in this game? Because so far, we haven't really had that. Here we go. Medevac drop inside of the main base. Siege tanks are in here, obviously. We'll take them a little bit to siege up if he even is going to do so. Okay, now I guess this is not so hot right here for the red Terran player. At the same time, though, he does still have some reinforcements available. Liberators are also up in the sky. Those will be targeted down, so at the very least, the siege tanks here in red will stay alive for a little while longer. Okay, at this point, the SCVs right here over at the third base of milkicow also in a ton of trouble. Planetary Fortress over here is nice, though, but I guess you can get the siege tanks over there. Can we please just roll over in that direction and gun it down? I'm pretty sure the Russian player here just assumes that this is now 2-base Terran here for BattleB. So, you do have enough siege tanks to just, like, siege up over here. Siege tanks do outrange planetary fortresses, so I don't think that's a bad idea. Well, at this point, he sees the SCVs heading on over in that direction, so if he wasn't already aware of it, well, now he certainly knows. Okay. Huge army lead still, though, for the teal player. 10 siege tanks versus only 5. That's huge. Also still at that air superiority. All of the Ravens were killed. Now, you do have to be careful, though. Pushing into this, not gonna be an easy feat. That siege tank gets absolutely decimated. Apparently, milkicow is looking at this. He realizes that he's got way more stuff. Looks like the planetary fortress is given up on, where its BattleB right now is running the tanks back towards the natural. At the same time, he's also... oh my god, he's just counterattacking once again. These Marines using their Stimpack right here just to get a bit of a speed boost, which is real nice. No siege tanks at home here for BattleB, other than one that is just about to finish in the factory. Planetary fortress will be killed. But we see the same thing happening right now over on the other side of the map with the orbital command getting blown up. Alright. So he's got a ton of tanks, BattleB, that is. Yeah, he's basically just sitting here on the high ground, knowing very well that his opponent may be able to kill the planetary, maybe kill the natural expo too, but what exactly is going to happen from there? Breaking the main is going to be real hard, whereas BattleB right now does have a very strong army here on the other side of the map. Both players at the same amount of exact upgrades. So, it's going to be hard to break through this. Siege tank here needs to be sieged up, though. There we go. That one should be able to force these red Terran Marines to back off. At the same time, on the other side of the map, siege tanks can shoot away further than they can see, so BattleB will need to scan here if he can. Did he really lose the orbital command? He really did? Oh my god, okay. Once again, we see units loaded up into medivacs to go for the counterattack. Obviously, it's not like the two-player here has a whole lot of income, right? As in, like, 0 income. So it's not like he can reinforce his high ground either. There's not a lot of medivacs right now to load up all of the units and go in for a doom drop, but he can definitely get some more units in. One of the orbital commands apparently... Oh, it's hiding over here in the bottom section of the map. This was spotted just now here with BattleB's scan. A couple of tanks right now have rearranged themselves towards the back. At the same time, though, speaking of siege tanks, they're inside of the main base. Couple Marines here as well, though, quite a few. Depends on if you consider 40-something Marines to be a couple. Here we go. Okay, apparently it's time to lift up some of the structures in the main base as well. Siege tank there. The last line of defense will be killed too. That was actually an impressive call, though, from BattleB, right? When he decided to give up the third as well as the natural, he basically anticipated this moment over here, leaving the tanks behind to go for a full-on base race. He's also got a bunch of Marines right here over at the orbital command in the bottom right-hand corner, okay? There is still one other command center for milkicow too. Both players had identical amounts of army supply at this point as well, which is kind of crazy. And milkicow is slowly but surely breaking the opponent's main base. The win condition in StarCraft 2, as always, is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. And once you lose your main command centers in this particular game, your structures will be revealed to your opponent. So you do have to lose all of your orbital commands in this particular case to be revealed. milkicow does... No, he doesn't have any Vikings, actually. Ooh, that's a problem. No, milkicow is Viking, sorry, but BattleB does not. So milkicow does have 6 Vikings over here, but I was thinking about BattleB. Okay. He cannot actually reach those orbital commands. So that's a problem. This is quite the issue, I would say. Okay, when it comes to structures that remain at this point, BattleB is soon going to be revealed. There it is. BattleB has not rebuilt their base and is being revealed. And that means right now, if you look at the vision of milkicow, he can see every single last of these Terran structures in red that are, no, not the units, but the structures at the very least that are flying across the map. Problem is that BattleB still has a huge army. So I'm pretty sure that these barracks over here are gonna join up with the main force. At least that makes the most sense. He knows that there's still an orbital command out there somewhere as well, right? BattleB, that is. He knows that there's still at least one orbital in the bottom right. Maybe he assumes that's the last one. There is still that one over at the 12 o'clock. Luckily here for BattleB, he is sending the structures over in that direction too. Very close. Very close. So supply-wise, BattleB is at a huge lead. Yeah. The problem is, though, there's absolutely no way for this guy to continue mining here, because he cannot make another command center. And even though he's got a lot of SCVs available, they're really just here for, I guess, minimum amounts of damage and soaking up a little bit of, I don't know, HP. Whereas for the Russian player here, yeah, the orbital commands have been saving up a lot of energy too, so he does have a ton of mules that he can go ahead and drop. SCVs, I guess, are being used right now as spotter units, but here we go. This is what I'm talking about. milkicow does still have a little bit of supply as well, so he's got the 2 CCs, which is what is giving him the 30 supply right here in total. He's going to be forced to rebuild at least a couple of SCVs and then a couple of supply depots as well to continue producing. So theoretically, if the game goes on for another like 5 minutes, I think he's going to be at an advantage, but easier said than done. Okay, so at the very least, he dropped the orbital command right here to get some scans in and maybe another mule or two. Okay, BattleB scouting around, trying to figure out exactly what is happening. He scouted the base in the top left. These Vikings are so critical, though. Yeah, these Vikings are so critical because once they are gone, it's going to take forever to really get anything done. The problem is, actually, hold up. I mean, he cannot make... So what I was saying earlier actually doesn't obviously work. He cannot make any SCVs right now. He needs to first off lose a bunch of units before he can actually afford to make an SCV to then go ahead and build another supply depot. So since, yeah, he's got 0 SCVs remaining, milkicow does have a couple of bases, I suppose, but it's not really achieving all too much. At the same time, BattleB has loaded up a few medivacs. He's going to try and go after the final structures right here. At the same moment, though, there's still these Vikings still going to town here, too. He does have a few Marines, but they're sleeping on the job. He's trying to see if he can target fire down these structures, maybe assuming that they're going to be the last ones. The problem is, yeah, the final barracks falls, and with that, it's going to be milkicow that obtains the victory in a very close game of StarCraft 2, despite being quite significantly behind there in the supply count. Let me know what you thought about this particular game in the comment section down below. Would you like me to cover a wider variety of pro players at the expense of like a slight dip in skill level? Anyways, let me know down below. For now though, thanks for watching, have a great day, don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.